This is your before and after story. Prepare for an incredible career in nursing. At Southeastern College, experience expert hands-on training. Learn real-world skills in our professional lab and simulated settings. And train for opportunities as a practical nurse, registered nurse, or career advancement with our RN to BSN program. At Southeastern College, your future is bright. Visit sac.edu to get started.
Well, I'm very pleased to be joined in studio this morning by Dr. Paul Eckford, who's the Chief Scientific Officer with Cystic Fibrosis Canada. As you know, the month of May is Cystic Fibrosis Awareness Month. It is the month during which I do the Farwell4Hire fundraising campaign. We've got our 50-50 raffle underway. I was talking about it moments ago. The funds we raise support important research, so who better to talk to than the charity's Chief Scientific Officer. Paul, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
Can you give us an update as to where we are at when it comes to the research into cystic fibrosis?
Certainly. So cystic fibrosis, of course, is a genetic disease. It's one of the most common genetic diseases in Canada. When the organization was first started in the 60s, the survival was very low. So most children didn't survive till adulthood. But we've made slow progress over the past 60 years or so. It's actually our 65th birthday this year. And in the past 5-6 years, new therapies called CF modulators have come onto the market, and they've really been a game changer for people living with CF. But people who have significant lung damage from the disease, from living with this disease for many years, it's not going to solve that. And there are other issues. Some people can't benefit from the drug. So we still have a lot of work to do. And we're really focused on things like the extrapulmonary or the impacts of the disease outside of the lungs now, as well as looking for ultimately a cure for those, especially for those people who can't benefit from the current drugs.
I think one of the things that I've learned through my years associated with cystic fibrosis, Paul, is that the money that's being invested into research, we really are getting bang for our buck in this area, aren't we?
I would say we've probably had the best impact of any of the rare diseases. So it started when the organization first started in the early 60s. Many different developments and advances in research have led to improvements in care. And we've seen the survival for CF improve and improve and improve. And now children born today are expected, well, half of them are expected to live to and beyond their 62nd birthday now, versus when the organization started and children were often not surviving into adulthood. So that's a huge impact. And that's largely due to investments in research over time that have improved care.
So where are we focusing our efforts in research today?
So a couple of different areas. So we went out and spoke to our community a couple of years ago to learn what their biggest priorities were. What are the things that we could tackle in research that would most impact the quality of their lives? And there were a few things there. People are still having issues with infections in their lungs. There is a massive, massive mental health burden of living with a fatal disease that probably hasn't had enough focus on because we were too busy thinking about, trying to make the body better, that we weren't thinking so much about the mind. So we're much more aware of that now. And really the third sort of bucket is around genetic therapies that we think are going to be the future for actually curing the disease.
Boy, you talk about those genetic therapies and the potential there. It takes me back to the late 80s. Was it 89 when the gene that causes CF was first discovered? That's got to be still the breakthrough that we all look back at and say, game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cystic Fibrosis Canada at the time helped to fund that discovery that was made at the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto. And it was really the efforts of the entire community raising funds to do that brought the discovery of the gene. And we thought probably a little naively that very quickly genetic therapies would follow. And it's taken a bit of time, but we're still on that path. I would say that the discovery of the gene led to the discovery of the current therapies that we have right now, such as Trikafta. You may know that name if you know somebody living with cystic fibrosis. That's really improving their quality of life, but it's not a cure. So we're still very focused on genetic therapies. And I think one of the challenges is that we truly didn't understand enough about genetics in the late 90s, 80s to 90s, to actually really put together an effective therapy. So there were attempts that were less successful. We know a lot more now, so I think the efforts are going to be a lot more likely to succeed. And we're sort of putting our eggs in multiple baskets, looking at different ways that we can develop genetic therapies. So we can try to deliver an RNA copy of the CFTR gene, much like the COVID vaccines, but delivered to the lungs. We're looking at a DNA copy being delivered to the lungs, and that might last a little bit longer. We're also looking at methods that could actually deliver tools into the cells to fix the genetic defect in the gene itself. So rather than adding a gene, fix the one that you have already there. So there are all these different sort of pathways we're working on simultaneously, and we're hoping that at least one of those is going to lead to a long-term cure.
I was talking, Paul, not 30 minutes ago here on the show about our 50-50 raffle that's underway for another year. We've been doing this for a number of years now. And it's exciting because you see a jackpot grow. We're over $32,000 right now. So somebody's going to win $16,000. And we know that number is only going to increase, which is great. It's exciting to think about winning tens of thousands, maybe $100,000. But the other half of that, of course, is going to cystic fibrosis research, which is important for us to remember. What does money like that do for the research that we're working on?
It's hugely impactful. So I've been watching that jackpot every single day, hoping it's going to go up. And I know that the community can do it. We've done it before. So really hoping we get to that $100,000 mark where we can put $100,000 more into cystic fibrosis research. It's going to be hugely impactful. So right now we're funding, for example, a researcher at the University of Guelph who's using a very interesting genetic therapy approach to get the cells in the lung to make antibodies against the bacteria that are causing infections in CF. We've got this sort of caliber of really exciting, innovative research, and there's more of it out there that we'd love to fund, but our biggest impediment is not the talent of the researchers here, it's the money. So it all comes down to how much money do we have to invest in these amazing research ideas. I've got lots more research I'd love to fund, and so I'm really hoping that this will help us to get there and fund a few more really amazing research projects.
I'm going to remind you, the website is a simple one, cf5050.ca, cf5050.ca. Ticket packages start at just $10. This gives you an idea of the impact of those ticket purchases. Yes, you can win. Yes, you can help Paul and his team do this tremendous research into cystic fibrosis. How optimistic do you remain today? What puts the wind in your sails?
I'm very optimistic. But, the thing that I think really drives us the most to do our work is talking with people in the CF community and seeing still the challenges that they're dealing with today. People are still having challenges with lung infections and have to be hospitalized. Diabetes is a big concern for people living with CF, and GI pain and the mental health burden that we talked about before. And just knowing those people and knowing that what we're doing every day is getting them closer to a time where they can live a full life that's not burdened by CF.
You have certainly improved those lives. I know a number of people locally in the CF community, some of whom are into their 50s now. A young girl I just saw at our launch party last week who's not quite yet 20, but on Trikafta. And we know this is a game changer. So on behalf of the CF community and from a CF family, thank you very much for what you've done, the entire group, with the scientific team and research team, and keep it up. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, and thanks for the time to talk to the listeners. I think that if you can get out there and buy those tickets, it really does make a difference. You might make a difference in your own life winning that jackpot, but certainly the CF community is going to win no matter who wins the jackpot.
I'm going to call that doctor's orders, okay?
Okay.
Doctor's
Sounds
orders.
great.
CF5050.ca. Dr. Paul Eckford, Chief Scientific Officer with Cystic Fibrosis Canada, joining us on the show. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.